Hello and welcome to Challenge Your Mind, Change the World, the podcast where we dive deep into the art of communication and critical thinking, and how these essential skills can transform our relationships and our futures with our teens. I'm your host, Francesca Hudson, the classic high school teacher, a writer, entrepreneur, and an advocate for meaningful conversations. Each episode, I explore strategies and share insights on how parents can enhance their communication with their children. It's not just about talking, it's about listening, understanding, and fostering an environment where critical thinking thrives. I'm here to equip you with the tools not only for immediate improvements in your family interactions, but also to set up our teens for long-term success in every aspect of their lives. So whether you're on your morning commute or winding down for the evening, join me as we unlock the potential of our conversations to shape a brighter, more thoughtful world. Let's get started. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Challenge Your Mind, Change the World, where we talk all things teen learning, confidence, and creativity. I'm Francesca Hudson, and today we're tackling a challenge so many parents and teens quietly struggle with. The blank page. We're talking about writing here, and we're talking about writing for pleasure, writing as a hobby, writing as a way to unplug from the world. So we're not talking about high school, academic, homework style writing. This is writing in your own time, perhaps over your summer vacation or a winter getaway. And if you have a teenager that loves to write but keeps getting stuck, or if they used to love writing but now claim they don't know what to say, then this episode is for you. Because today I'm not just going to tell you why teenagers freeze up when it's time to write. I'm going to give you practical, gentle tools to help them through it without pressure, without nagging, and without making writing feel like homework. Let's get started. So let's start with the big myth that a teen who's good at writing, and I say that in inverted commas, should find it easy to start. But here's what we know from the research. Writing isn't just a mechanical task, it's deeply emotional. Get this, a study published in Educational Psychology Review 2017 found that students' emotional states significantly influence their writing fluency and idea generation, especially when writing is unstructured or open-ended. It's allowing them to just go with the flow, see where their imagination takes them. In other words, when teens feel anxious or overwhelmed or insecure, their ability to generate ideas and get them onto the page literally shuts down. And this is especially true in creative tasks, where there is no single right answer to anchor them. It's completely up to them what they do with the page. Now, the researchers in this study found that even short bursts of negative emotion can reduce both the length and the quality of students' writing. So, what makes this worse is that teenagers developmentally are already navigating heightened emotional sensitivity and self-consciousness due to their hormonal changes and the brain development that's going on. And their limbic system, which is their emotion center in the brain, is highly reactive, while their prefrontal cortex, which manages their rational thinking, is still under development, it's still developing. And that biological imbalance alone can make a blank page feel like a threat rather than an invitation. So you can see why ditching writing and going straight onto the phone or the device is so much more tempting when teenagers want to switch off. But not only that, think about the pressures of school, of social comparison, perfectionism, fear of judgment, or not knowing what's good enough, and suddenly the blank page, the big looming blank page, becomes less of an opportunity and more of a spotlight. And here's something I've seen over and over again in the teenagers I've taught and coached. The more self-aware a teen is, the harder it can be to start writing. How interesting is that? You'd think it would be the opposite. So why is this? Well, because self-aware teens have higher internal standards. They know what good writing looks like. They've read excellent books. They've had moments where their writing has been praised. They understand voice, tone, style, pacing, even if they can't define those terms technically. And all of that awareness can actually become paralyzing. They overthink things. And we've all had cases of this where we overthink something and we paralyze as a result of it. So these are the teens who crumple drafts, who erase every sentence, who stare at the blinking cursor for ages. And they're not being lazy by doing this. They're actually protecting themselves from falling short of their own expectations. And so they avoid starting. And what we're really seeing here is a deep internal conflict, a love of writing colliding with the fear of disappointing themselves. Now, if you're a parent, your instinct might be to say things like, just write something, anything. Or you might say, it doesn't have to be perfect. You used to love writing, remember? And I get it. These responses come from a really loving place, and I can hear my mother's voice in my mind when I'm saying this too, because I have been through this with my own mum. But you want to remove the pressure, to remind them of who they are and to encourage them to try. But here's the thing, rushing past the fear or dismissing it only reinforces it. It unintentionally sends a message that their discomfort isn't valid, that they're making a big deal out of nothing. And when teenagers feel misunderstood, they retreat even further. And here's what most parents don't realize. To your teen, the blank page isn't just a page, it's a mirror, a reflection of their ideas, their voice, their imagination, and offering that up to the world, even privately, feels really vulnerable for them. Another common mistake is jumping straight into structure. So, for example, you might say at home, if your teenager is writing something, just outline it first. Or you might say, try a 5-paragraph format. Or you might say, what's your main point? What main point are you trying to make with this story? But for creative writing especially, structure too early can feel like a cage. And when teenagers are still figuring out what they want to say, layering rules and expectations on top of that can actually shut the process down. Remember, creativity doesn't grow in pressure, it grows in permission. Teens need to know that they're allowed to explore, to be messy, to write badly at first, to write without finishing. That's the space where confidence begins, not in a grade, but in a quiet sense of ownership. So what actually works? Let's get into that next. And this is where it gets good. Based on my years in the classroom and in curriculum design and working with thousands of teen writers online, here is what actually helps. I have summarized it for you. I've got 5 key ways. And the first way is to start with low stakes, expressive writing. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, before your teen dives into a formal story or an essay, give them the space to write without purpose. Think writing a note to their future self, or describing a dream, or creating a fictional text thread between characters. Now, by doing this, it reduces performance anxiety. In fact, a 2021 study in the Journal of Adolescent Research showed that low-stakes creative writing increases motivation and self-efficacy in teens. So, in other words, having them writing anything is better than nothing. And by starting to write anything, it begins to calm the brain down. And we have a really good exercise in our writing resources. I always make sure to put one in where if your teenager is experiencing that writer's block and they don't know how to get started, then we have some really good low-stakes expressive writing prompts for them. And I always make sure I include one in our creative and expressive writing packs. So you can either use one of our packs or think about coming up with something of your own, like writing a note to their future self, describing a dream, that kind of thing. Now, the second way is to help them see before they write. Now, when a teen is stuck, their brain often hasn't visualized the scene yet. And I really encourage the teenagers that I work with through the Classic High School teacher to sketch, create a mood board, or talk out the scene like a movie trailer. And in fact, in our free prompts download that I will link in the show notes, we actually have a couple of exercises like that in there for them. It's totally free. You can download it. And I think even just asking, what do you see happening in this scene can unlock everything for your teen. And another way that is really good is putting on some binaural beats on Spotify or maybe a visualization meditation and really get them to see and visualize scenes that they might have been daydreaming about. They might have them in their imagination currently, and really get them to bring that to life through visualization, and then they can write it onto the page. The third way is use writing warm-ups not worksheets. Now, warm-ups should feel like play, not prep. We want our prompts to sound like, write a one-sentence story that starts with, she wasn't supposed to see that, ... Or describe an object without naming it, ... That works wonders. And I designed our Start Strong Writing Warm-Ups pack, which is in our Summer Writing Starter pack, with this exactly in mind. Short, weird, because the more weird, the better. Playful ideas that trick the brain into action. Now, if you haven't had a chance to grab our Summer Writing Starter pack, then you will have access to that when you download the free writing prompts. So I will link the free writing prompts in this podcast, and then you can carry on through and you will see our Summer Writing Starter pack in there as well. Now, number 4 is to replace writing time with creative time. Now, this one's subtle but powerful. If your teenager hears writing, and I say that in inverted commas, they may think, rules, school, red pen. So we want to try calling it creative time instead. Let your teenager journal, make lists, invent characters, design a book cover, anything that builds narrative thinking without the pressure to produce. And I always model this at home. I have a beautiful notebook, and every morning I sit down with my coffee, curled up on the couch with a rug, and I just write in it. And my boys have seen that, and they have requested, though I'm probably embarrassing them by telling you this, but they requested their own notebooks. So we made a big occasion of it. I took them down to the shops. They picked out their own suitably cool looking notebooks. They chose a writing pen as well that kind of matched the notebook. And we really celebrated it. We keep the notebooks on the coffee table, so they're always there. They're right by the TV remotes and all that kind of thing. So it's in the common area, the common thoroughfare. So they are relating it to pleasure. They're relating it to relaxation. They're relating it to when you've got a quiet 5 minutes sitting on the couch, pick up your notebook and write. That's how I've replaced writing time with creative time at home. Now, my fifth way is to validate the fear with your teen and then offer one small next step. So if your teenager says, I don't know where to start, you could say this. That makes sense. Starting is the hardest part. Want to try just writing for 5 minutes and see what happens. Now, if you keep it really low key and maybe like a really small window of time, like 5 minutes, then this gives your teenager control and safety and a clear boundary. So they don't need to feel like they've got to sit down and do a really lengthy writing task, which feels like homework. So we really want to make sure that we are validating any fears or doubts or reluctance that they might have around writing. So I thought I'd leave you with one final note before we wrap things up, and it's something that I've learned again and again. Teens don't need to be told to try harder. They need to be shown that their voice is worth hearing. And this is the focus and the centre of everything that we do at the Classic High School Teacher. It is all about helping teens discover their voice. So with writing, every sentence that they write, whether it's beautiful or messy or unfinished, is a brave act of self-expression. And if you're looking for a gentle next step, something to support your teen without overwhelming them, I'd love you to check out our teen writing workshop in a box. It's not open right now, but you can join the waitlist, or in the meantime, start with our free prompts that I will link in the show notes. They're simple, thoughtful, and they meet your teen right where they are. Thanks for joining me today. If this episode gave you insight, feel free to share it with another parent or teacher who wants to nurture their teen's creativity. And remember, when you support your teen's voice, you're helping them build something powerful, self-trust. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Challenge Your Mind, Change the World. I hope you found our discussion enriching and that you're walking away with new ideas to enhance communication and critical thinking within your own family. If you enjoyed this episode and are finding value in our conversations, please take a moment to rate us on your favourite podcast platform. Your feedback not only supports us, but also helps other parents discover the tools they need to foster stronger relationships and critical thinking skills with their teens. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and share this with someone who you think could benefit from our today's topic. I'm Francesca Hudson, and I look forward to joining you again next time as we continue to challenge our minds and change the world. Until then, keep thinking critically and communicating effectively.